Welcome! This is the Rustic Songbird Podcast, and I'm your host, Lydia Walker. This show is for you if you're ready to learn more about the craft of songwriting and take your skills to the next level. Thanks so much for listening. Let's get started. My guest on the show today is my friend DarleneRaye, and she's going to be sharing some of her story today, as well as some advice and encouragement for writers and for other creatives who are listening to the podcast. Darlene is a good friend of mine, and we've connected through music online, and that's how we met. So it's kind of cool. We've been able to meet in person and actually sing together, and now Darlene is on the show to share some more of her story today. So I can't wait for you to get to know her. Darlene, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
Well, I know you've been listening to the podcast, so you kind of know what we do on the show. I've been asking people for tips and advice for songwriters just to encourage each other and build that community, because I think it's so important to know that we're not alone and that there are many, many people out there that are trying to use their gifts and talents and put good music out there. And so this show is hopefully going to inspire a lot of people, and I can't wait to see what happens with it. It's still pretty new, but you've been listening to the show. So what do you think so far? Do you have like a favorite episode?
I don't have a favorite episode so far. I think
this might be it. This might be your favorite.
If you take pieces and parts of each, from each person that you've had, I can't pinpoint anything specific, just something that they've said has been oh, I've really taken that into consideration. It's been really inspiring. So each person has said something that's kind of caught my attention to make me stop and think, well, they really thought about that, or they really took time to think about that, or they've really been through some stuff, because everybody has been through a lot and everybody has their own story.
I agree, and I think I might do a compilation episode of some of those best quotes and tips and share that at some point, because I think there's so much good advice that's in each show, and so it's hard for me to pick a favorite too, but I thought I would ask just in case you had one that really stood out to you. But I totally agree. I would like to hear more about your story, because what's inspiring to me about you is that when something happens in your life that could have stopped you and you could have just given up, you keep going. And I think that's really inspiring to people, because like you said, life happens to everybody. We all have our ups and downs, and we have to learn how to overcome that and not let it stop us from continuing on with our dreams. So from your experience and your life so far, what do you think holds people back from going for their dreams?
Honestly, the word no and the word can't is so powerful.
I agree. Tell me what that's looked like in your life with hearing no's.
Even more recently, someone told me that I wouldn't be successful, or I couldn't be successful, or maybe not right now. And it's just why would you even say that? Because I went to school for television production. It wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to school, to be in radio. That was my first choice. And then along the way, I discovered, well, I don't really want to do radio, because by mistake, I was put in a music industry class, and that opened up so many new avenues that I didn't even know were out there. But the music industry is the hardest profession to get into. And it's all about knowing somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and not necessarily having them give you a hand up, but just your networking and who you know and what they're able to do for you. Because I don't want any handouts. I want to work for my success and everything, because I really did work for those grades. And I don't just make videos and stuff because I want to. It's because I want to get myself out there, and I want to continue to grow and learn and get better, because I am limited anyway. But the more you do, the better you'll get. So, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm just so passionate about the music industry, but it's going to be so hard to get in. And I'm just relying on God's plan and waiting on Him, because I'm not going to go out and grab something if I don't feel like it's what He wants me to do. And that's one of the reasons why I don't have a job right now, is because there has been nothing out there. I've seen nothing that I'm interested in, and I'm just continuing to edit videos and do a lot of stuff for fun, but the more I do it, the better I get at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So you've started a production company where you're making videos. You've made a lyric video for me and recorded some live videos for me. And I think
I want
that's
to do
great.
more of that.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And it's a good way to capture something and create something new, like the lyric videos. It really adds to the listening experience. And so I think that's really cool that you're using your skills at video, but also being able to do things with music and just your passion for music that keeps you going, even though you might have negative feedback or people telling you that you can't do something. So what goes through your mind when you hear somebody say, no, you won't be able to do that, you can't do that? Like, do you have some kind of pep talk that you tell yourself, like, when you hear somebody say something negative?
Well, I just kind of wanted to like set this up real quick, because there is a story for this. And because over the past year, because I was in a car accident last year, well, actually it's 2019, so this year it'll be 2 years in November. But I was coming home from a college basketball game. I was still in college at the time. I was in my last 11 days, and I was about to graduate. And I decided, it was very cold, and I decided to take a wrong turn and take the short way home and not use the crosswalk. And I didn't see this car coming. The car didn't see me. She was going too fast, and she hit me. And I went flying 20 feet and hit the pavement. But all that being said, you should just go with your gut, because my gut told me that night that I shouldn't have taken that turn, and I should have listened to my gut. But without this experience, I wouldn't have gained like the faith that I've gained and perceived a new aspect, like, because now I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and like dealing with that is a whole new thing in itself. And like when somebody says no or I can't, I feel absolutely worthless. I feel like I will never amount to anything. I'm never gonna, accomplish anything. I'm never gonna be successful. I will never get married. I will never have children. I just feel like a bottomless pit at that point. And it's like, you know what? I don't even care, because all this stuff I've done from day one, I've proved the doctors wrong. I wasn't even supposed to live past 24 hours, because I'm a twin. My sister and I were born 3 months premature, and we were not supposed to live 24 hours, 48 hours, or even 72 hours after our birth. But God had a plan for us, and He allowed my sister to live 4.5 years, and I lived after that. And I think that's one of the reasons why He blessed my mother with 2 children instead of 1, because He knew what was going to happen at that time and place. And that's one of the things that I have to tell my mom often is, yeah, God decided to take your child, And that's a terrible thing. No one should have to bury a child. And I don't know what that's like, but I've been in it and through it as a sibling, and having to watch my mother go through it. So I kind of know what it's like from this side of the equation. And so I'm just saying that to say that, God had a plan from the very beginning. So he gave you two children, and that's why I'm here, to fulfill out, his plan and his purpose. And I have a guardian angel. I have many guardian angels. If it wasn't for the Lord and my many, many, many guardian angels, I would not have survived that accident. Because if she would have been going any faster, they said I would have died. So she hit me at 35 miles an hour, and the speed limit at that particular zone was 45. So.
Wow, so you are already a miracle. Just from birth, it's a miracle. Yeah. You're a survivor of, the premature birth and also this horrible car accident. And tell me a little bit more about what happened after the car accident, because you said you were almost graduating. And so you ended up having a graduation ceremony in your room at the hospital, right?
Yeah, they took me down to the waiting room of a part of the hospital, and they told me that it was just going to be, well, originally I thought I was going to get to walk at graduation, and they were going to work me to the point where I could actually, sit up. Sitting up right after was terrible. I was having, because of the head trauma, I had a lot of blood pressure problems where anytime I would sit up, my heart would just start racing, and my blood pressure, and I think I had a little vertigo too, because, my head hit the pavement, and your crystals in your inner ear, they kind of get a little out of whack. So I think I had a little bit of that too. And plus, I can't use my legs on a normal scale anyway. So when I got hit by that car, every ounce of strength I had was just knocked out of me. It knocked everything I had. And I was at my strongest point, as far as strength went. I couldn't even move. I just felt paralyzed, and we didn't know at the time, but I actually broke my metatarsal in my left foot, but it healed over time. But it just, I wanted to go to graduation. It was a thing that I looked forward to the most. And when we realized, this was 2 or 3 days before graduation, I hadn't even gotten out of the main hospital yet, and we were still getting things prepared for me to go to rehab. I didn't, the accident was on a Tuesday. I didn't get out of the main hospital till the Monday after, and I went to recovery that Monday, or rehab that Monday, and graduation was the following Saturday. So I had a kind of slow recovery in the beginning, but sort of sped up in the end, because I was only in rehab for 2 weeks. But the rehab place, they were so nice, and I just had a great experience. If I ever have to go back to rehab again, I will definitely choose Murray Callaway as my place to go, because it was just great. And once we finally realized that I wasn't going to be able to walk at graduation, I was really bummed. I just sat there and I just cried, because, it really, oh my gosh, I'm trying not to get emotional. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a big thing. And it's so sweet that surprise that they put together for you, that you were still able to have a special graduation, even in the midst of all that right after the accident.
And so, when we finally came to the decision that I wasn't, going to be able to walk, I just thought, okay, well, I'm just going to have this little thing with my family and friends. And a lot of my friends, you know, they were graduating that day. So it wasn't like, you know, this was for me. It was kind of for them too, and to like celebrate our friendship and our relationship and our accomplishes together. Like a lot of my friends, like from out of town, they had other engagements, so they couldn't come. But just to have everyone there, and when I went downstairs, you know, we went through all these passageways in the hospital, and they had the doors shut, and as soon as I saw the cameras, I knew that something was up. Like, I knew this wasn't going to be what they said it was going to be. And one of my professors, I noticed he had a camera. Well, I'm in television production, so I'm used to cameras being everywhere I go, so it wasn't out of the norm. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not. And then I heard the Pomp and Circumstance, the graduation song, and I'm like, this is not. And then I saw President Davies and the whole like stage party. They were all dressed in their stage regalia, and I'm like, this is definitely not what they said it was going to be. They're bringing commencement to me. And they filmed the whole thing. You can also, if you want to put that link in the interview,
Yeah, I can link it in the notes because the whole thing was filmed for your special ceremony. That is so cool that they got it captured.
It's on my website too, and there's actually a whole page with everything. So if you want to link that page, you can.
Awesome.
But
I'll do that.
it was great. I will never forget it. It was definitely extra special because, you know, you think about graduation, you know, 845 or whatever graduating, and you get your few seconds walking across the stage. Well, I got my own ceremony.
That's so neat and such a special memory too. And so that was from Murray State University in Kentucky. And you actually were on the college newspaper, right? Was it the newspaper or the magazine?
The magazine, I was on the Murray State News, called Gateway Magazine. And the Murray Ledger and Times is like, I think it's, no, it is Murray State's newspaper. I was on their newspaper and their magazine.
Wow. And wasn't that like a goal for you? You wanted to be in a magazine at some point, and that was something that was like on your bucket list?
I wanted to be, because I want to be I want to be like famous and well known, and I know that sounds terrible. Like, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
I want to be like famous and well known and experience all that kind of, like, not Taylor Swift famous or anything, but like I want to be, you know, all that kind of in the music industry realm, you know, have people recognize me and everything. And like being on the cover of a magazine was one of the things on my bucket list. To have it this early in life, I never saw it happening.
Yeah, but your story is so interesting and so unique, and just to see you recovering from that and still being so positive about life in the midst of something that could be really hard, and you could have just given up at that point. A lot of people would have, but you didn't. And so that's what I love about your story, is that you're so passionate about life and so driven for your dreams that you just keep going. And I feel like more people need to hear stories like that, because we hear a lot of negative stories and bad things that happen, but we don't always see the people that keep getting back up no matter what. And so, like we mentioned earlier, when you hear somebody say no, or when you hear somebody say you can't do that, you are living proof that you can keep getting back up and keep going, and that you don't have to let the circumstances in your life stop you from trying again. And so I think that's really, really inspiring. And you've overcome so many obstacles already, just continuing to decide to move forward. And so I really appreciate that about you, and just your your personality and your drive for that. It's inspiring to me, definitely. You mentioned that you just have so much passion for music. So let's talk about that. How has music impacted your life personally to where you're so passionate about it?
Relating to like my current like situation, like I didn't listen to music for 12 days until after the accident. I didn't even know like if I would be able to sing, if I could sing again, if I would remember anything that I was ever taught. But I just turned one of my favorite artists on one day and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I still had everything. Like it was still there. But like my voice and everything wasn't very strong, and it's not as strong as it used to be just because I don't sing as much as I used to. I started singing when I could talk, and that was at age 2. And then when Taylor Swift came out in 2005, 6-ish, I wanted to learn how to play the guitar because I thought that was really interesting. And like I'm very limited on my guitar playing skills. Like I have to modify my chords because of my cerebral palsy. My hands don't exactly form the chords like you would normally form them, and I haven't played a lot since the accident because my hands are still, sore because when I was in the accident, my hands took the brunt of a lot of the accident. Like I have some scars and scar tissue still on my hands, so they're still recovering, and like when I write a lot, they'll get sore really, really quickly. So I tend to type a lot of things and instead of writing. But I want to like get better at the guitar and maybe learn some piano because I like piano too. But
Oh, me too. I could listen to piano music all day. It's so pretty. I wish I could play better. I might pick up more piano in the future as well. I really enjoy it.
And it's just kind of grown over the years. And like as I took that music industry class, as I mentioned earlier, I learned a lot of things in that one class about how the music industry works, how the artists really don't get paid until everything is taken out, like after their drivers get paid, after all their hotel is paid, and all that stuff.
Yeah, you really have to do it for the love of it.
Yeah, and I mean there still is a lot of money because she's one of the highest paid celebrities in the world. But you don't get there by just not doing anything.
No, she's one of the hardest workers too and has an awesome team. So she's definitely a rare case.
Yeah, and she is. Like, I hear so many times nowadays, so many shows that I watch or people that I talk to that say, oh, but there's already a Taylor Swift. And you don't know how old that saying is getting. Like, not everybody is trying to be Taylor Swift. They might want the popularity that she has, but they have something different that she doesn't have.
Exactly. And there is room for everyone. Everyone is so different, and there's a whole world out there that needs to hear good music. And so I believe there's plenty of space for good music.
I'm right there with you, girl.
Well, I would love to hear from you and from your perspective on promotion, because you're so good at promoting events and things that are online. And we've talked about like your video production company and just like sharing videos and putting out posters and making event pages and inviting people. Like you're really, really good at being active at that. And that's something that a lot of musicians and songwriters struggle with, is like putting themselves out there and actually promoting something once they've created it. So what are your best tips for promoting like a new song, or when a video comes out, or if there's an event coming up? what things do you do to get the word out?
Well, like you said, I create photos. I use different apps on my phone. I do everything on my phone right now because I don't have a camera. I'm working on that. But I would still do those types of things on my phone even if I had a camera, because I don't just go out and shoot footage for promo. I'll get like images from the internet and like make a video from background and images and stuff like that. I tend to do like a lot of those types of things from that. Or like if it's a musical event that I'm doing, I'll use a picture of me and then like use whatever the event is, like make a cover photo or a title photo or whatever you want to call it to put with it. And I don't know, I guess it just comes from what I learned in school. And like when you advertise, it is important to be consistent. If you're not consistent, then you're not going to get the word out there. And I know a lot of artists that are on like big labels and are bigger, they're sometimes, well, a lot of them are required to like do stuff per promotion so many times a month or so many times a week or whatever. But when you're doing it on your own, it's kind of sometimes hard to judge, well, am I sharing this too much, or is this, do I need to make another one? Or, just be consistent. And, when I was in advertising class, we would have, campaign plans where we would decide, okay, this ad will get shared this many times a week for this many times a month. And this ad will go this many times a week for this many months. So it's all depending on like however you want to do it, but just be consistent.
That's good. So making a plan and sticking to it. I agree,
Yeah.
because it can be easy to put something up there and then it just gets lost in the shuffle. Because like the Facebook news feed moves so fast and people might not even see your post, even if they're friends with you, even if they
Right.
liked your page, even if you send them an invite, they might not even see the notification. And so it's important to put things out there, I think, more than feels necessary, because like
Right.
you know that you've made this poster and an event and you've sent out invites and you've shared it, but not everybody's going to see all of those things. They might see one of them, and there are studies that show that people need to see something 8 or 9 times before they actually commit to it. And so I don't think you can promote too much, really, but like you
No.
said, just being consistent, putting something out there, whether it's every day, every week, to let people know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want you to be involved. I want you to listen or watch or attend, whatever
And I
the.
promote different podcasts each week. Like, just to let you in on a little secret, in 2019, you're one of the podcasts that I'm going to promote every week.
Oh, thank you so much.
So,
Yeah, I can't wait to get it out there to more people, because I feel like there's so much good stuff already in these interviews with friends of mine, and I'm excited to share your story as well. So I think that's
I
really cool.
listened
You are
to,
such a good friend, but also you're such a good promoter, that you do
yes.
promote things that you believe in and that you enjoy. So I
Oh,
like that
yeah.
about you.
Yeah. I definitely, like, there's podcasts. Like, I have a radio friend in Nashville. She started the whole women don't want to hear women, and changing that into women wanting to hear women, kind of supporting uh, women in country music, supporting each other. And that's been one of my favorite podcasts. So I promote that every week, and I'll take her image, the logo that she uses, and I'll kind of personalize it and put the artist name that it features every week. And I do that with a couple of my podcasts.
That's so
I
cool. What a neat idea.
Yeah, and I do that, like, whatever the title is or artist, if I listen to it on a weekly basis, I'll use their image and put the title or the artist. So whenever I start promoting your podcast, which will be this one, I will kind of personalize it. Well, I don't know about this one because this one's me, but whenever I do it, I'll kind of personalize it.
That's so neat. I think those are some great ideas for our listeners and people that are trying to get their music out there, because it's a little nerve-wracking putting your own picture and your own stuff out there, like, look at me. But if you don't promote it and share it, then people won't know about it.
Who else is going to hear it?
Yeah. Exactly. And people want to hear what you're doing and to see what's going on. So I think that's some really good tips for today. Before we wrap up, what encouragement do you have for artists and writers that are listening that may have encountered obstacles in their life and feel like, they're just always trying, but, hitting a brick wall, or always hearing no's, or, just haven't seen success yet? What would you say to them about keeping on moving forward?
Well, speaking of having not seen success yet, I haven't seen success yet either. I just graduated college last year, and I don't have a job yet. But I'm not letting that stop me. I'm keeping going and trusting that God has a plan and hoping that He will provide something this year. The accident I had, it really knocked me down to the lowest point in my life, and I'm having to learn to cope with new things. And some of you might be going through the same thing too, about with coping with new things in your life, whether it be marriage, divorce, new kids, adding a child, going from a family of 2 or 3 to a family of 4.
Yeah, that's a big adjustment. That's where I'm at.
So it just depends. Like, you just have to kind of go with the flow and trust that God is going to deliver. And don't let the word no stop you, because no or can't are 2 of the biggest words. Don't let those 2 words stop you, because they will. And it's sort of like the devil trying to get in there and trying to mess with your mind. And in my current state, dealing with depression and PTSD, it's really hard because the devil is trying to do everything he can to get me down, because he already knows I'm in that hole. And I have days where I feel really good and I feel like I could conquer the world, but there are days that I don't feel like doing anything. So, it just depends. You have to learn what your new normal is, and learn to adjust to life as it comes. And don't take no or can't for an answer. Keep moving and trusting in God's plan.
Wow, that is such good advice. And I appreciate you sharing your story today, because I think it will inspire those that are listening. So thanks for being willing to open up and really share what you've learned from that experience. I know that you're just getting stronger from it. And so it takes time to heal and to process and everything, but I think you're doing amazing. And I appreciate you being part of the show today. I did want to tell everybody about your website. So everyone that's listening can connect to Darlene with her website. And from the website, you can find all of the links to social media, for her Facebook page and other pages online. But the hub is her website. So Darlene's website is DarleneRaye.wordpress.com. And that's Darlene. Raye is spelled R-A-Y-E. DarleneRaye.wordpress.com. I will also link that in the notes for the show. So definitely find her on Facebook, get connected to see what she's doing, and send her a thank you note for being on the show. This has been so fun, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a fellow writer. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you in the next episode.